Hey guys, welcome to our Wednesday night service. I was just wondering if you miss church. I know I miss church. I miss the physical gathering of church. Obviously, we have not stopped having church for the past 2 months, actually going on almost 3 months. We've had church every single Wednesday. We've had church every single Sunday. We've had church, we've just done Zoom meetings. Church has been taking place. We've learned during this time that church is not a building. That even though we love our building and we love gathering together physically, that church is not a building, and we are not held back by just a simple building located here on Westland Drive. That we are so much more than a building. We are people of God, filled with the Holy Spirit given to us by God so that we can live out God's mission here on earth. And I want to remind us of that pretty soon we're going to go back to church. Matter of fact, May 31st, we're going to gather right out there in the lawn. You can bring your umbrella, you can bring anything you want if you feel like you need to have some shade. We're going to have chairs for you, but if you want to bring a more comfortable chair, that's fine too. So we're going to begin to gather physically really soon. Things are obviously going to look different. And I want you to be okay with that. The reason I think it's exciting for us to gather together is because of this right here. One of our core values is that we are better together. That means that we are better when we gather together, when we help each other, when we serve with each other, when we go on mission with each other, when we sing and worship together, that God is working in the midst of that. If you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 10, it says that two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. That's why we believe we are better together, and that's why we can't wait to gather again. But I want us to remember that when we gather together, which is what we want to do, and we're excited to do it, because we do believe we are better together, that we should not forsake the gathering, that we should always be wanting to gather together because that's how God's made us. But we have to remember that when we desire to be together, that when we do come together, it's not just about us. And that's where our second core value comes in. And if you're a part of our church, you know this to be true. Our second core value is that we put others before us, that we put others' needs before ourselves, that it's not all about us. Yes, we want to come back together because we are better together, but it's not so that we can just be here and get and do what we want, because we are not called to do that. We are called to gather together, but put others before ourselves and not put our personal preferences above the power of God working. Because oftentimes, like we heard last weekend in Numbers chapter 13, there were people who saw things and had their feelings move them to a point that they turned away from what God wanted to do. And we can't allow our feelings to make us turn away from the promises of God. Those Israelites in the wilderness that we learned about in Numbers chapter 13. You can read it today if you want. Numbers chapter 13, the Israelites, the spies went out. They saw something that made them feel something. And so instead of taking what God had promised them, they turned from it. They let their feelings really affect them. And we have to remember that yes, we are better together, but also others come before us. This says in Mark chapter 10, verse 45. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served. Jesus did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus Christ came to earth not for himself, but for you. And we also must put others before ourselves. So as we begin to gather again, I am so excited because I think that we are better together, and you know that about me, and you know that about our leadership, my leadership. You know that I just want us to be together. I love being in community, but I also love the power of when we put others before ourselves. Looking into the future of what God might do in our church, it might look different than anything we've ever imagined. It might feel a little uncomfortable. It might look like giants that maybe we don't think we can take. But I believe that we are better together, and when we put others before ourselves, the one you can't see down there says that's when we can't stop and won't stop growing. Coming together, putting others before ourselves, and putting our personal preference aside, and not allowing our feelings to take us in a frantic mode that we never imagined, and stopping the power of God. And if we can do that, gather together, put others before ourselves, that's when we can't stop and won't stop growing. We have a church, guys, that prior to this COVID thing was on fire. God was growing us. But can I tell you something that you might not even know? During this time, God's power and blessing and favor, and you all who are watching right now have done an amazing job of continuing to move this church forward. I can't wait for you to see all that God's done here physically and all that God's done in the kingdom once we come back as we celebrate the stories of God's movement. So we are going to come back together because we believe we're better together. But we are going to continue to put others before ourselves. And then we can't stop and we won't stop growing. In the book of Numbers that we studied last weekend, chapter 13, the Israelites, the 12 Israelite spies went out. 10 of them allowed their feelings to stop them from following God into the blessings and the future that he had from them. Those people died in the wilderness because they desired what they used to have instead of looking forward to what God had for them. Let that not be us as we begin to gather soon. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this Wednesday night service, but I want to give you a little heads up. So I just want to remind you of the plans for this coming weekend. It's church online only this weekend, but May 31st, gathering here out on the lawn at 11 a.m. First time we're back together. Wear your masks, bring an umbrella if you need to. We're going to have chairs for you. Bring your kids, bring your family, invite friends. Let your friends know, hey, our church is going back and we're going to do it outside. Would you join us? And then starting in June, the first weekend of June, we will be having 2 services. We're launching 2 services and we're excited for that. The numbers will probably be small at each one, but that's actually the point. We want them to be small for now, but hopefully God would grow them later. And so we're going to go at 9 a.m. and 10:45 a.m. And I would love for you to choose which one of those you want to attend and stick with that during the month of June. So, again, tonight, remember, better together, others before us, and we can't stop and we won't stop growing. Don't allow giants to make you feel something and turn from something that God has promised you and this church. God bless. Again, I love you all, and I can't wait to see you soon.